So what is it like to follow your passion and create your own dream job, continue working hard for your goals for 15 years? What was the most difficult challenge so far? What's on my mind most of the time? And what does Talk to Me in Korean mean to different types of people? What's in store for us for Talk to Me in Korean as a team for the next 5 to 10 years? I want to talk about these topics in this video, and no, we do not have any surprising announcements to make here. In most every piece of content that we post online, we're teaching you Korean, and so we don't often get to talk about how this company works, how we work as a team, and how I work. So I wanted to do a heart-to-heart kind of video to tell you a little bit more about me and us as a team. But first, what is Talk to Me in Korean? Apart from being an online-based Korean education brand, what does it mean to different types of people? So first, to people who are learning Korean or who want to learn Korean, it's a source of information, a website that offers online courses, a hardworking team that writes, publishes, and sells self-study books for Korean learners. And millions of people around the world have thankfully listened to this very voice to learn Korean. And it's often the previous step to studying abroad in Korea for many people. And to other Korean educators who work at traditional formal institutions like universities and private language schools, Talk to Me in Korean is something that a lot of their students use or mention as their first source of Korean learning experience, and also continue to use to supplement their studies, at school too. And 15, 14, 13 years ago, most of the university professors I met just kind of thought of us as a cute group of young content creators. That's, what we were. Their perception of us was mostly positive, thankfully, but they didn't really consider us as a big contributor to the Korean education sector because, we were just getting started. But now, after millions of learners and 40 plus books later, it's just amazing how much genuine support and respect I feel coming from university professors and board members of various academic conferences in this field. And surprisingly, I've now even become a board member of a formal Korean language education academic society, which I think is quite meaningful. And to other online content creators and teachers, we are sort of a dinosaur that kind of punched the first hole through the wall and, started creating a path. And dinosaur because we are a slightly bigger team than, compared to one person content creators and most other teams, and also dinosaur because we are older. And to me, Talk to Me in Korean is a dream job. It's many of my passions and interests all mixed into one: language learning, education, video production, the internet, computers, content creation, self-development, everything together. Personally, I wouldn't be able to pick a better job even if I could travel back in time and start all over again. This is my first full-time job, actually, and I hope that this is going to be my last full-time job. Now, when we first started, our main focus or only focus was to create the most useful online Korean lessons to help learners, but eventually there came a moment where we needed to form a team to continue growing and survive. And right now, we have 25 people working together on this super long-term project that is Talk to Me in Korean. And when I was much younger, I thought all businesses somehow had an infinite amount of money and all they had to do was just make stuff and then sell stuff somehow. And needless to say, I was wrong. I am thankful though that out of all the people that I've met over the years, no one really seemed to think that we had it easy. Also, I've never met a single soul who actually thought we had everything all planned out and everything worked accordingly. So thank you everyone for understanding our struggles and challenges and also knowing the efforts that we've put into Talk to Me in Korean. But that's me saying it in 2024 right now. Back when we had just gotten started, we didn't know how complicated and difficult things would get. And not long after, I realized how hard it was to actually maintain a business, let alone achieve any kind of success. So we kept working hard, learning various very hard lessons along the way, especially because I didn't have anyone to ask for advice. And this was probably my first mistake, not seeking out more mentors more actively. But anyway, we didn't. So we had to mostly figure things out on our own. At first, as we were publishing our first few lessons or levels of the Talk to Me Korean curriculum, because we weren't selling anything yet or not much, we had to make money by doing other side projects such as running social media channels for a government agency, and stuff like that. I was also doing some personal side projects to help make a living. And eventually, as we wrote more lessons and made more podcasts and videos, more and more people found out about us and introduced us to their friends, and our team began to grow. And fast forward to 2024, we've been running Talk to Me in Korean for 15 years. Now, that's the overly simplified version of it, and we've gone through some painful failures along the way. And if you're interested, I would like to mention just a few. So after we published our first few books, we had a really tough, couple of years because of a lawsuit that we were having against this really big publishing company. We eventually won because we didn't do anything wrong, but that held us back for quite a bit. Another one, we thought if we taught Korean using K-pop lyrics, people would love it and the service would be popular, right? So we did some research and thought it would be okay and made a whole website called Sing to Me in Korean. No surprise, Sing to Me in Korean. But then learned about some extra hurdles of safely offering translations for song lyrics commercially, even after, even if we were to pay the proper copyright fees and stuff. So we had to shut it down without being able to tell anyone about it. Another one, we would get questions from our learners saying, can you check this Korean sentence that I wrote? Is this correct? Quite often. So we thought, what if we made a Korean sentence correction service? So we made a service called How to Korean because we didn't have AI tools like ChatGPT 10, 11 years ago. And we had real people, Korean native speakers, including ourselves, correct sentences submitted by learners, right? We would do that every day. It was loved by the many people who used it, but the service never became really big, and it was also logistically impossible to also manually offer explanations as to why a sentence was corrected a certain way. So yeah, we had to say goodbye to that project. We also saw that many learners wanted to practice speaking Korean with a tutor, and many people asked us if we did one-on-one or group lessons via Skype. Yes, Skype, not Zoom. So we made a service called Talk to Me in Korean Live, and also hired many outside tutors and, offered classes, but it also didn't become big enough. So it was a short-lived project. And to introduce one last thing that we tried, I personally don't want to label this as a failure because it was a project that was really dear to my heart. And what we did was we opened a coffee shop with our other YouTuber friends and another friend who had a lot of experience running coffee shops. And having a physical location where we could meet our students in person was really amazing, but we also couldn't be at the coffee shop full time because we were also working in our office, right, to create content and continue growing the business. And the cafe didn't really have enough regular customers other than people who were visiting for a short term to visit Korea. So we had to eventually let go of it as well. So those were just some of the big scale projects from which we learned a ton of valuable lessons. And even apart from those big new ventures, there were always, there have always been many hurdles and ups and downs with our main ongoing projects. And even now we're currently working on and managing 5 different projects, 5 major projects, and none of them is that easy because we want to offer something valuable to you guys. And in addition to writing books, creating courses, and building new services, we also need to think about the HR aspect of running this company, building and improving our company culture, rules and guidelines to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and satisfied with their roles, as well as the general direction of their career viewed in the long term. The tricky thing is, for me, this business, this job is a dream come true pretty much by default, almost like I was born to do this. But for everyone else, job satisfaction is not necessarily automatically guaranteed, so we have to think a lot about that. And I was asked once before during an interview about what keeps me up at night, and my answer was whether my coworkers are happy here. So there's probably a lot more I can tell you about in terms of running Talk to Me in Korean as a business, but I'll save that for a future video or future conversations because this is my first time making a video like this one. And I don't know whether you guys want to hear more or not, but I wanted to at least make this video. So from our first lesson published online in 2009 under the name of Talk to Me in Korean, and from Even earlier on, when I made my first blog about Korean back in 2004, we've come a really long way. I got older and hopefully became a little bit wiser, and our team has been able to help millions of people learn to speak Korean, or at least get started with their Korean language learning. And this year alone, dozens of university professors teaching Korean at schools have personally told me that almost all of their students who arrive in Korea to study abroad here say that they studied with Talk to Me in Korean before coming to Korea. So thank you so much. And what will Talk to Me in Korean eventually become or be like in, say, 5 years or 10 years? I know from experience that when you run a business, not everything will go exactly as planned, but we have some really big goals and visions. We want to help more people learn Korean through their native or fluent languages, and not only just through Korean and English. So we will offer Korean lessons in more languages, and we want to partner with schools and universities around the world to offer better curriculums. We also want to offer corporate language training programs and also make more mobile apps and organize cultural events. So I want to keep imagining every possible way for us to help more people to learn Korean, and I think if you stick around for a long time, you will also enjoy seeing our new ideas and efforts turning into something real, like all of our books, all of our courses, and our graded Korean reading app, the Talk to Me Korean stories, which nobody else in the industry even thought of building. And it's all thanks to every single one of you, all of our wonderful Talk to Me Korean students, our Tok-Toks, who are learning Korean with passion and as their lifelong hobby/interest. So thank you so much for studying with us, and thanks so much for watching this video and listening to my story. This was a little different from our usual videos, but I hope you guys still enjoyed it nevertheless. 여러분, 제 이야기 들어주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 만나요.